As Nigeria inches closer to the pivotal 2027 elections, the spotlight turns to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Political leaders across party lines are sounding the alarm. Fix INEC now or risk another cycle of electoral chaos. Tonight, we dissect the demands, the reforms proposed, and the stakes involved, from voter registration to result transmission. We break down the demands, the challenges, and what's at stake for Nigeria's democracy. Is Nigeria ready to restore public trust in its electoral system? Or are we just heading towards deja vu? Well, joining, of course, this conversation right now is Dr. Sam Amadi, the director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. It's great to have you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into, of course, the breaking story that, of course, is making the rounds right now. Well, I call it the handover right now of the outgone INEC chairman, that's Professor Mahmood Yakubu, and, of course, the new, well, I call it acting chairman, that's who, of course, is a national commissioner. For you, in terms of this transition, that Nigerians are witnessing right now, in tandem with the elections, that's the 2027 elections around the corner. For you as a Nigerian, how does this meet you?
Well, thank you for having me. I think this is perhaps not real transition of the type we'll be looking forward to maybe in a couple of days. This is routine. Maybe nothing precedes it that much. We've been hearing in the reports a couple of days ago that there was pressure on Mahmood to bow out before November when his tenure officially ends. And the argument is that public officers go on so-called, exit retirement leave. But there was a precedent for this with former INEC chairman. But many of us thought or think it's not the right thing to do because they're not career for servants. They are, people appointed under tenure confirmed by National Assembly. So the idea of going on terminal leave does not arise. But here we are, and the stories around whether blackmail, whether they are pressing him, whether they have something on him, and all kinds of things. But look, it's not significant. It doesn't foretell anything about what is in the curve, what's at the bend in terms of the key issues. Who becomes an chairman, how is appointed, what kind of person is appointed, what amendments are we going to see in the Electoral Act, what reforms are we going to see in the institution of INEC itself, because beyond the rules, the structure and the operational capability, efficiency, integrity of INEC has been called to quick question. So those are the more important issues. So we've seen I'm sure Mahmood will be relieved to exit because he has done very well in many ways and then damaged everything he has done. So we're just living in disgrace, as it unfortunately. So
I'm going to come in here talking about Mahmood Yakubu. Let's do a bit of retrospect. During his time as chairman, some of the things he, had achieved. He introduced the bimodal voter accreditation system, which some people would consider, some sort of technology, and also the INEC results viewing portal, IREV, which has sort of revolutionized voting in a way in the country. He also expanded the voter registration and also the continuous voter registration exercise, which we see, and some innovative ideas. But for you as a Nigerian who, of course, observed the process, has been part of it, witnessed some of these things, looking at the quality of what our elections used to be and now, would you say there are takeaways?
Yeah, takeaways. Look, this is quite ironic. I think he perhaps today should be bowing out as maybe the most successful INEC chairman, but for. First, you're right. INEC has improved a lot in technology, which was actually a process starting with Iwu I think Iwu's career is more like Mahmoud, brilliant scholars, professors who were also innovative in terms of expandable, who collapsed the electoral system with the highest possible height of lack of integrity. So Mahmoud, under Mahmoud, INEC has improved logistic-wise, INEC has improved technology. In fact, in one breath, the 2023 election was actually a masterclass in that the House of the National Legislative election went very well. We saw many incumbents. One measure of election going well is where you see many incumbents lose election. We saw it was okay. Then the presidential election, whatever got into him, Mahmoud and whoever decided to change the password and collapse IRF. The strongest guarantee of referendum. Look, let nobody deceive you. The only problem with the election is not logistics. People say, okay, let's have same-day voting. That may be helpful, but that's not the real problem. It's not logistics. Yes, we have low voter turnout, but doesn't go to the credibility. It shows that the people are not interested. The real thing that I think INEC did, Mahmoud and his team did well, was to sell, with the help of civil society, get the IRF, get the notion of real-time upload of results from polling units to stop the very egregious problem that happens between voting and so-called collection. INEC, Mahmoud came out gung-ho praising this. So society gave him support. But last minute, he put it on fire recklessly. So really, we should have written a different story. That this is an excellent, one of the best tenure, because we saw innovation. But the lack of integrity, that's why I say it.
So for you, you feel that to a very large extent, maybe the issue of integrity seemed to be missing. But before I leave you, Dr. Amadi, if you were to score, his dispensation as chairman of INEC, 10 being the highest, what would you give him?
1. And I'll tell you why. The whole essence of election is not performance. It's credibility of free voting, free result. Look at what happened with 23. Look at Edo. INEC is now the one rigging election. INEC is the one calling for election. INEC is the one uploading a different thing and that's a different. So the basics, forget this technology thing. I mean, you're not going to be GE or Siemens. You're not Google or Tesla. So we're not expecting rocket science engineering from you. What we expect is the simple thing that people vote and you try to protect the integrity of those numbers and announce them. That's the main thing, and INEC scored 0. So he goes with, for me, 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10. Wow, that is pretty very low.
Because I assess the critical thing, not the paraphernalia. The real thing is credible vote, issues. Credible counting, credible announcement, and it did none of that since 2023.
Okay, let me bring in into this conversation right now Professor Anthony Kila. He's a political economist and professor of strategy and development. Professor Kila, it's great to have you join this conversation.
Good to be here. Good evening.
Good evening. So I would like, of course, you to pick it from, of course, where, I asked, Dr. Amadi. In retrospect, how would you rate the time, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu was chairman of INEC?
Well, I heard you give a scale of 1 to 10. I think it is wrong to give a scale of 1 to 10. We should have only success or failure, pass mark or non-pass mark. Without going to a rating, I would rate him a failure, not a success. Just a binary thing, yes or no, in or out, positive or negative. I would say negative because really the job of an umpire is to come out of the process that everybody believes is credible, no matter your side. And though the Nigerian politicians have a knack for contesting elections, there are some elections that are not contestable in the public opinion space, no matter how divided. And I think the Mahmoud administration has failed to deliver that. Now, those who are close to him can argue that that is perception, not reality. But it doesn't matter because public management, public service is a lot about perception. Yakubu has done his time and he's gone or he's going out now. I think we need to look forward. And there are two crucial things that I would like us to focus on moving forward. Number one is that the job of INEC and whoever leads INEC is to appear to be above board. The process must be credible. Anything below that is not acceptable. The other thing, and here the lady coming in has a background of understanding process, and I truly, really, as a citizen, hope that she's not swallowed by the chair upon which she sits or whoever takes over. The other thing is that whoever wants to help INEC should come thinking that Nigerian politicians are capable of defrauding. They're capable of violence. Rather, they have a tendency for crime. So anybody who wants to lead a good INEC should come with the mindset that I'm dealing with potential criminals, and the process should reflect that.
All right. All right, thank you so much. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be taking a deep dive into who exactly the new acting chairman is and what lies ahead for the new leadership of INEC. Stay with us. We will be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television, and at this time, we are looking at Nigeria's electoral process, particularly with, of course, the breaking story right now, where INEC now has a new acting chairman. Let's take a deep dive, a bit of retrospect into who exactly the new acting chairman is. Her name is May Agbamuche Mbu. She's a legal practitioner with over 3 decades of experience in law. I think we have a bit of graphics on her, if that could come up. She, of course, has, like you can see on your screen there, seasoned legal practitioner with over 3 decades of experience in law, dispute resolution, and public service, and also has over 30 years of experience working with diverse clients across both the public and private sector. And she served as national chairman of INEC since 2016 and was reappointed in 2021 for a second term. Today, she was appointed as the acting chairman of the same commission following the exit of the former chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. She's also an expert in alternative dispute resolution and a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, amongst a plethora of other seats and crowns that she has been able to wear over the years. But where I'm going to in all of this is, and I'm coming to you, Dr. Amadi. This, of course, for now, this role is substantive pending the time the president officially nominates someone, and then it's screened by the Senate, and there is a final, chairman of that particular agency of government. But my question, sir, is this: should the president play any role in the appointment or nomination of INEC? Ideally.
First, as a constitutional lawyer, which is what I taught many years in the university, under constitutional law, they want to call the executive branch, and you see that happen with Trump. And as a constitutional law scholar, I can tell you straight away that appointments into executive branch, which includes what we call executive agencies, or in Nigeria, we call it administrative agencies like INEC regulators, is part of the presidential privilege. But what happens, because some of these institutions need to have independence, they are designed in a way that sometimes the appointment procedure may extend beyond the president to require senatorial confirmation. Sometimes, for example, the office of the Government Accountability Office in the U.S. is not appointed by the president, but it's appointed by through rigorous process with the speaker and the leader of the Senate. And so, so for the constitutional law, the president should have prerogative over the executive branch. But again, The issue also is how the appointment is done, who is appointed. So ordinarily, the constitutional framework in Nigeria is not too bad. The president has to consult with the Council of States. But the question is, what is the mode of that consultation? What discussions go there? That's number two is that people have not said, look, considering that we are in a situation where appointees do not exercise independence. You see in the US, the Supreme Court appointed by the president, and sometimes many of the Supreme Court justices disappoint the president, flip and do different things. We've seen Attorney General of the president in America refuse to investigate or allow investigation of his principal that results in 2 impeachments. In Nigeria, those are, so the West report, most opinion is that that position should be taken from the president. You look at other countries like South Africa, most countries now appoint, especially those who have gone through transition into liberal democracy or electoral democracy, appoint through independent commissions like in South Africa, or have what we call multi-stakeholder INEC, where different parties present delegates or representatives, and civil society, MBA, NMA, women association, and so on and so forth, have represented. The idea is, borrowed from economics, is to create sufficient transaction costs that make it difficult for collusion. So Nigeria's history of past suggests that we should not have the president simply appoint the way it's done and the National Assembly just confirm. And that's why we always carefully presented a package that results from first advertisement, people apply, the NJC or something like NJC, looks and verify. I recommend about 5 people. It goes to the council, where the president is also part of it, maybe present 3 to the president, who now goes to the citizen. So my view would be that we need to create a structure that allows for presidential power, but at the same time dilutes presidential discretion. So it's still appointed like every other member of the executive branch, but appointed with these restrictions to ensure that the person who at least formally acquires independence. They can compromise on that.
Because the big question here, the big issue here has to do with institutional autonomy. That particular institution being absolutely free. In any way, its umbilical cord not being tied to the executive, maybe the legislature or the judiciary, so as to be able to perform optimally. So I'm going to direct the same question to Professor Kila. Should Mr. President play any role? Because we know he's also a key player when elections are up. Should he be involved, ideally in the appointment or nomination of the INEC chairman?
I think, you see, if we were in a sane society, it wouldn't matter. It would just be system. 1, it shouldn't matter. 2, it's not enough. It's neither here or there if the president appoints it. I think we need to focus on a system. My ideal system will be a system that has 2 features. 1 is to find a way in which the mode of operating of INEC is automatic and independent of who's in power, i.e. their finance, their process, and their succession plan should be away from the whims or caprice or thinking of whoever is in power. In doing that, let me even go to a more ideal situation. My ideal situation would be where INEC leaders do not conduct the election of the person in power. We need to find a timetable whereby the tenure of the INEC leaders do not match those in power, so that the person who conducts the election is not linked to the president at all. They just prepare the process and hold forth. But really, the system we want should limit discretion and human influence as much as possible.
All right. You said quite a couple of things, and you of course, highlighted what you considered an ideal system. Now, I'm coming back to you, Dr. Amadi. Dr. Amadi, we've seen over the years the institution called INEC bring about innovative approaches to ensuring that elections are transparent, free, and fair. For instance, during the era of Mahmoud Yakubu, technology, was introduced, but there were still challenges. Now, for you, if you were to recommend, ahead of 2027, what you think that institution should do in terms of reform, what would you put to the table?
Okay, and I've thought about this, and Abuja School has produced a national action plan that look at this. But again, technology didn't start with INEC, with Mahmoud again. INEC has progressively. INEC started first with a capture machine. They started with, got into a double capture, then got into biometrics, got into verification, which the Supreme Court says if you don't do accreditation, double accreditation, then the votes will have to be aligned. So it's a progression, and ultimately it came to 23 when we have the IRM. Now, in terms of what next to do, first, anybody who audits the failure of the electoral system in Nigeria understands that part of it is administrative. The rulemaking procedure in which INEC governs the system. Again, and this is because lawyers, mere lawyers, I call them lawyers, litigators, have written the rules. And oftentimes they forget. If you look at the US, for example, we have what we call Administrative Procedure Act. It guides all regulatory agencies. First, you do notice and comment, you invite consultation, you vote on record. So, for example, if INEC says today that INEC has decided on X, how did they decide that X? Don't forget that INEC is made up of commissioners, and what their first job is to always vote. So they will ask parties to file in their report. The parties, they will look at it and take a view, just like the central bank. Central bank does not decide inflation anyhow. They hold a meeting and vote. And you see, they say 3-2, 5, they give the number. The idea is to make it accountable. So first rule is you have to do a lot of administrative reform so that INEC becomes a deliberative, a rule-based platform. I give an example for the US. If you look at elections in America, a county that conducts an election, they will tell you that this county has voted to allow for mail-in ballot. And they will tell you that vote happened with lawyers of the other parties, and all of them will put in a petition, argument. They will hold meeting transparently, and the record will show how the vote happened. So INEC is one of the most unaccountable institutions. When the results are coming in, a professor will just say, declare a result, and some people will protest. INEC doesn't go through a process of adjudicating that complete. And that's why the court is doing too much. So the first reform is to make INEC resemble what you see with NEC, Electoral Regulator, or NCC.
All right.
Transparent, accountable, and rule-based making on the records. That's really big. Before we talk about IRF, I will talk about judicial adjudication. So that's the first thing I'll push.
All right.
Entire reform.
All right. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'd like to say, of course, I appreciate you for your time on the program. Dr. Sam Amadi, Director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, and Professor Anthony Kila, a political economist and Professor of Strategy and Development. Once again, gentlemen, thank you for your time.